Welcome to Now Hear This. I'm your host, Chris Spangle. Now Hear This is a conversation with leaders in Indianapolis that are working to improve the lives of Hoosiers. Our goal is to empower you to join in their work and to make a difference while informing you about the unseen aspects of life in Indiana. If you miss an episode, you can listen via podcast at nowhearthisindy.com. Today, we are revisiting our friends over at Goodwill. We're not talking to Kent Kramer, the CEO. We're talking, in that interview, we talked about the many schools that they run. And today we have the pleasure to kind of drill down on that and talk to one of the principals. Christina Lear is the principal at Indianapolis Metropolitan High School. Thank you so much for joining me. Can you tell me, and I always like to start out with the web address. It is indianapolismet.org. And so, Christina, can you tell us what is the Indianapolis Metropolitan High School and why is it different than your traditional high school?
I would love to. Thanks so much for having us. So Indy Met is a free public high school. We serve teenagers with significant barriers to education. So when you think about some of the challenges that youth in our community face, like being a teen parent or being involved in juvenile justice or foster care or potentially experiencing homelessness, obviously that would add a lot of extra layers to the experience of high school that already can be challenging. And so we are a best fit school, and we have extra resources and supports to wrap around students with those barriers and to help make sure that they successfully graduate and then move on to college or a living wage career after high school.
So what does that look like in practice? Because I think, people have the concept of what maybe, and there's 2,000 teens experiencing homelessness in Indianapolis. We've talked to some folks that serve that community. So this is a big problem for a city of our size. What is the experience of a teen that goes to your high school? What does that really look like? Because I think people have an idea in their mind. Let's give a picture to that, if you could.
Yeah, so most of our students are juniors or seniors, and they have typically been to 2 to 3 other high schools on average before they get to us. So these are really mobile, teenagers, really mobile families who have experienced a lot of transition. And so we try to right away make sure that they feel like they are at home and that this is going to be a place where they won't fall through the cracks and people will really know them and get to know their strengths and also their needs and make sure that they have what they need to be successful. So when they first enroll at our school, at a typical high school, you get your schedule and you just go off to class and you kind of hit the ground running. But there might not be as much time to get to know you and what you're all about and maybe what challenges you faced at previous schools. So at our school, we start with a welcome conference. So the very first thing that our families do is to sit down with their family empowerment coach, which is going to be kind of like the person that guides them through their education at Indy Met. And they really talk through, in detail, why are you here? What went well at your last schools and what are you really good at? And, what assets do you have in your corner? And also what didn't go well and how can we make sure that you have a different experience here and that you are successful here? So we really ask, lots of questions that get up in their business and make sure that we know how we can support. We talk through different programs that Goodwill has that might be, available for the student, but also for the family members. So that could look like employment at one of our retail stores if there is a financial need in the family. Or that could look like, a referral to nurse-family partnership if the teenager is expecting a baby. So we really try to use that opportunity to start wrapping supports around the family right from the beginning.
So what is the background of the person that becomes a family empowerment coach, not just in the supporting, but, they're very well connected to the community. Give us an idea of who is a family empowerment coach and what's their background.
Yeah, so we like to describe them as guidance counselor meets social worker. So those are kind of the two worlds that they bring together. And they come from really diverse backgrounds. I think the common thread they all have is they love people and they love to build relationships with students and families and really get to know them and kind of figure out what motivates them and what are their goals and how can they be a trusted adult along that teenager's journey. So we've had coaches that have been teachers. We've had coaches that have worked in special education, the social services world, athletics, really that love for building relationships and finding community resources and connecting those two things together is the secret sauce we're looking for in a family empowerment coach.
How many students? So you not only help them with their personal lives, but also their education. I mean, is your standard education that you might see at a, let's say, a township school or a suburban school?
Yeah, so we offer the Core 40 diploma, and it's really important to us that our courses are rigorous and that they are going to prepare students for what's next. So if they graduate from our high school, they need to be able to go into college, and we don't want them to be in remedial courses. We want them to be ready to go with credit-bearing courses. If they go into the workforce, we want them to feel confident that they are, ready to hit the ground running and to be an awesome employee. So we really hold a high bar in our Core 40 diploma, and all of our students either complete an industry recognized certification or they complete college dual credits before they even leave high school.
So we've had our good friend Rupert Bonham, who runs Rupert's Kids on, and he, he's a big advocate for vocational training. He says, our educational system is often geared towards college, and not everybody wants to or will go to college. How do you? I'm sure that you have a healthy college prep, and that plays a role. But do you also have vocational training for those who may not want to go to a secondary education?
Absolutely. Yeah, we believe that we want people to be able to pursue their own dreams after high school, and sometimes that requires college and sometimes it doesn't. As long as they can support themselves, and be independent, then we definitely want to give them what they need for both college or careers. So a lot of our students do take that certification route because they have an interest, in working in a more hands-on field or working in, something where they can get started in the workforce right away after high school. So we do a certified nurse aide certification. We do one in Microsoft Office, QuickBooks for our budding entrepreneurs. And then we also do a hospitality industry safe certification. And, kind of others as the needs arise in the community. We try to look at where are the jobs at in central Indiana and where does that intersect with what teenagers are interested in studying and learning about.
So you mentioned teen pregnancy, teen parenting classes. One of the biggest challenges for a single parent is childcare. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, so we have a Young Learners Child Care Center built into our school building. So when our teen parents come to school, they bring their little ones with them. They drop them off in the child care center, and then the little ones are learning while their parents are in their high school classes. And then at lunchtime, they pick them up and they eat lunch together, and then back to class. And so it's kind of a really great two-generation learning environment.
Well, that's cute. That must make the environment around there a lot of fun. So you serve about 300 students. Are you capped at 300? Do you have, what is the need like for a school like and again, we're talking to Christina Lear, principal at Indianapolis Metropolitan High School. Are there people that are trying to get in that can, or do you pretty much take anybody that fits your role?
Yeah, so as a public school, we are first come, first serve. So right now we are full, but we always are wanting to, have new students on our radar who might have a need for a school like ours. So when a spot opens up, we are ready to enroll them. So we definitely hope that, if you are someone that could benefit from IndyMet listening to this, or if you know someone, reach out, go to our website, indianapolismet.org, and just apply. And then that will keep you on our interest list so that as we have openings available, we can accommodate you and help to serve you.
Thinking about, it's kind of a heartbreaking situation, and excuse me for my ignorance here, but, the home plays such a fundamental role in education generally. For teens experiencing homelessness, how do you handle that? Where do you offer shelter? Or am I being a little too naive to think that it's just people sleeping on the streets? Or can you give us some information on that? Like how do you deal with a young person who's experiencing homelessness?
Yeah, so homelessness can look really different. It's sometimes folks sleeping on the street, but not always. So certainly a lot of families that are homeless are doubled up or couch surfing. So they have a place to sleep tonight, but it might not be stable, and if there's some kind of, dispute, like a normal roommate dispute, then they might be kicked out and not have a place to go. So I think that's more commonly what we see. We don't have our own housing. Sometimes we joke, like, wouldn't it be great if we had a dorm for this high school? But we don't at this point. But what we do is we work very closely with partners in the community that run housing, and we make those referrals and really try to have a warm handoff, because when you are already, trying to find a place to sleep at night, it can be really challenging to navigate paperwork and, applications and all of that. So that's where our family empowerment coaches can step in and kind of help build those bridges between families in need and community organizations.
That's great. The other challenge that I found in doing this show for those who are kind of going through some of the things that your students are going through is transportation. How to get from, we don't have a robust bus system, for instance, or subway. How are you getting your students to and from school?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our students come to school in a variety of ways. Some take the bus, some drive themselves or get dropped off by a family member, some walk or bike. The Indigo bus system is kind of what we rely on in terms of public transportation. So we definitely have tried to advocate, to your point, and say, like, hey, we do need to have a more robust bus system, because low-income families are relying on this as a lifeline for education and jobs and healthcare and food access and all of these things. So we are a proud participant and partner with Indigo, and hope to continue to see that system grow and expand. But we also try to get creative. So, for example, a few years ago, a number of high schools closed on the Far East Side, and there were not a lot of school options. And so it takes about 2 hours each way to get to our school from the Far East Side on the public bus system. So we have started driving out a shuttle bus there, and we pick up students on the Far East Side and drive them just to cut their commute time down, so they're able to attend the school without, being on the bus all morning and evening.
And you're located over near IAPY, correct?
Yep, exactly. We're at White River in Michigan.
Okay. Again, their website is indianapolismet.org. We're talking to Christina Lear, principal at the Indianapolis Metropolitan High School, which is a part of the Goodwill of Central and Southern Indiana organization. I believe, and you may know this, I believe that he said there are 14 different schools, of which you are one?
I think we're up to 15 Excel centers now.
Oh, wow.
Plus we are always growing our network of schools because the need is big. But IndyMet is currently the only school that serves traditionally aged students, aka teenagers. Our other schools serve adult learners.
Okay, understood. So how do people help? I mean, I imagine, other than shopping at Goodwill stores, is there a way to directly help the Indianapolis Metropolitan High School?
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely a great way to help by supporting Goodwill. We also have a foundation for Goodwill that serves all of our mission programs. And then I think the last way would just be to spread the word. A lot of, families don't realize that we're an option in the city. And so they might be going through some of these challenges on their own. And we want them to know that we are here and, want to help them through the journey of high school.
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't ask what you're doing in terms of the pandemic. How are you keeping kids safe? And are you doing online learning? Is it all in person? What does your school look like this year?
Yeah, it has been a year to remember for sure. So we know, just with having students that have such complicated situations and being vulnerable in some of their situations, we really want to have the school building as a place that they can come to, for food and for internet access and for just kind of peace and quiet. So it was really important for us to open the building up in some way as soon as we were able to do so safely. So we've opened in a hybrid model. So all of our students are able to come into the building 2 days per week. And then on the other 3 days, they are doing remote learning. And we've provided one-to-one, Chromebooks for each student so that they're able to access their education when they're not here at the building.
Well, that is great. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. One final pitch on how to support your students. Christina Lear.
Yeah, please go to indianapolismet.org, and you can learn more about our school, spread the word, and help a student that might be a great future Puma apply to be part of our family.
All right, Christina Lear, the principal at the Indianapolis Metropolitan High School. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Now Hear This. I'm your host, Chris Spangle. If you missed any portion of our program, you can listen on our website, nowhearthisindy.com. If you'd like to have your organization featured on the show, please contact Gabby at 317-475-7407 or via the contact page on our website. Thank you for listening, and we will be back again next weekend with Now Hear This. Our goal at the Chris Spangle Show is to help you sound smarter while talking with your friends. If you struggle to understand politics, we explain it from an independent, libertarian perspective with all of the irreverence modern politics deserves. We toss out the screaming heads and put people before political parties and give context to the news to make you think. I'm the host. I'm a 15-year veteran of politics and media, and this show is published every Saturday. It's part of the We Are Libertarians network, and be sure to join Wall Plus for bonus podcasts, the complete archives, commercial-free shows, and more. Subscribe now at wearelibertarians.com.